Welcome to your next step up the self-publishing mountain.
I'm Matilda Swift, author of quintessentially British cozy mysteries.
And I'm Samantha Cummings, author of young adult books about magic, myths and monsters.
I've written the books,
Changed their covers,
tweaked their blurbs,
tried tools from a dozen ads courses.
and I'm still not seeing success.
Now, we're working together to plot and plan our way from barely making ends meet to pulling in a living wage.
Join us on our journey where we'll be mastering the pen to snag that paycheck.
Hello and welcome to Pen to Paycheck Authors Podcast. I'm Samantha Cummings, here with my co-host Matilda Swift, and we're here to write our way to financial success. We're two indie authors with over a dozen books between us and still a long way to go towards the quit the day job dream. If that sounds familiar, listen along for our mastery through missteps journey. Each week we cover a topic to help along the way, and this week's topic is self-publishing on a shoestring. Before that, what are your wins and twinges of the week?
We were meant to record yesterday, but I messaged most of the way through the day to say, can we just put it off a day? Because I don't feel very winful. I don't feel my usual winning self. And I'm so glad that we did, because I was absolutely wiped last week. I worked so hard to get my book into the editor, and I did it, but like 2 a.m. on the deadline night. And I really think the book is going to need another like few more bits of polishing than I would like when it comes back from the editor. So I was feeling absolutely exhausted. I had other things to do last week as well after that was in, and I was just like pulled very thin. So we put it in for a day. I spent all of yesterday reading, like curled up in my little reading nook, surrounded by beautiful little fairy lights, drinking tea, in cushions, listening to music. Delightful. And I would just feel 1,000% better. So it was such a nice perspective. It was also helped by the fact that yesterday I got the certified world's best review. Never on the history of the planet has anyone received a better review than this. So delightful.
Agreed.
For my book that's out next. It was just like effusive without sounding fake. Like it just was a long, genuinely nice review, and I was like, oh my god, I am good. I am really good. So it was so nice. I got back yesterday evening. I had a meeting this morning about a secret, can't tell you quite yet, side project that went really well as well, but will be revealed soon. And last week I had set my goal that I wanted to have 100 pre-orders, and I am currently on, drumroll please, 100.
Yes!
So I feel great. Yeah. So I set a target and then just reach it. I almost didn't reach it because I forgot that I was going to have to turn the ad off midweek, because I'd set myself I had set it to turn off during the week, and I in fact turned it off early because it was starting to wind down, and I wanted to set up a different ad for a specific purpose. So I'm trying to do the Nicholas Eric system, because I realised this is the 7,000th time I've had this realisation. But what I need to do is the things that play into my strengths, and I am very good at just following a very rigorous and complex system, which is what he has, and I think puts off a lot of people. But he has I need someone to just say, here's how you test ads. Test A, B, C, D, F, G, H, I, J. Test all these different possible variables, take the numbers, and that tells you what to do. I was like, oh, that is exactly what I need. But I know that if I start doing it, it's really complicated and it starts to fall apart and it's not working quickly enough, I will feel disheartened because I'm very busy. So I'm just testing out a few parts of the system right now. So one was just, can I set the ads up in the right way? Now I'm testing, can I set the ads up in the right way with attribution? And in fact, my current ads are not going as well as the one week before. And that's really nice to see, just to see oh, there is a lot of variability to it, because I set it up slightly differently. So there is variability to it. And all I have to do is find the right set of variables that will work for me. So fantastic. So I almost didn't reach my ideal goal, but I did, and I'm feeling fantastic about it. And yeah, everything is wins. I am still very busy, but it has been nice. It was nice to have a day of not doing too much work and feeling like I can just read today, and that was delightful. And no whinges. I feel much better after yesterday's sort of slight low day. How about you?
I am full of wins. I have been editing my next book, which is coming in at the end of April, and I'm loving it so much, and I don't care if nobody else likes it.
Why would they not?
Exactly. I don't know why they wouldn't.
And everyone's going to like it. Yeah.
Yes. I edited a kissing scene yesterday, which had me I wanted to squeal, and I also know that some people are going to hate it, and I can't say why because spoilers. But I'm feeling all the vibes of this book and can't wait. I'm just really excited, and it's filling me with all that joy that I was talking about I think last week, about just feeling like I'm really excited about the whole process that I'm in. Also, last week, my Wish I'd Known Then podcast episode finally came out. I thought it was the week before, but it didn't, and so I kept my mouth shut. It was last week, and it was really fun to listen back to myself
so
talking.
good.
I've had so many nice things said about it. A lot of people enjoyed it. And yeah, it's nice to hear that I wasn't just a rambling idiot, because sometimes I feel like I'm a rambling idiot. And we had a great time. What can I say? Like, me, Sarah, and Jamie hit it off. I feel like we laughed a lot. Surely the funniest episode they've ever recorded.
Probably,
after
funniest
yours,
since mine.
After yours, yeah. No, I had a really good time.
Tied equal top,
yes,
I think.
Equal. Yeah, it was really, really good. Just felt all the good things last week. My whinge is that even though I'm excited about this third book, I'm mentally struggling with how to get people involved in it. It's difficult to kind of think about what I should be selling people on when I'm talking about it on social media. We've had to talk about this before we started the podcast, and I do feel like I've got some ideas of what I should do, but it has been making my brain hurt a bit trying to think of strategies for yes, go on. We just had a hand raise.
Sorry, epiphany face. We are in Act 2 because I've got the exact same issue that I've got lots of great advanced reviews, like much better than any reviews I've ever got. Like, and they're using consistent language of like compelling, engrossing. I was like captivating. It's like I need to do something with this, and I don't know what. So we're at Act 2 where we are facing new challenges and we don't quite know how to meet them, and that is what this year is about. We're not facing like Act 1 problems. We're not like. How does Facebook work? How do I make a book? Do I just keep writing books? No, we're at like new and exciting challenges. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I don't, and it's not getting me down so much as just making my brain hurt, because I'm having to try and think differently. I've never finished a series before, and so I don't know what the protocol is for it. Obviously, next time I come to finish a series, I'll know, because I'll have done this. Yeah. So it's a whinge, but it's not really a whinge. It's just a mild wah. Yeah. Gotta have them every now and again.
Yeah, just a thing to be pondering.
Yes.
We're sort of pondering something very different today. We've been talking for a couple of weeks about like money things. Obviously, we're now money experts since Helen graciously came and advised us. We've talked a lot about our general budgets, and today we're talking quite specifically about part of a side of the business that I think a lot of people are experienced with and maybe would like some more ideas on. And it's about self-publishing on a shoestring. So keeping your costs low when you're self-publishing, how we can kind of go about it. And we said last week we wanted to have a budget of $100. Did we say?
$100, it's all
not enough money, basically. Yeah, a very small budget for if you only had that much to spend on a book. How would you do it? I think that's quite a specific number, so we could sort of come to that at the end of the podcast, talk about like where would we spend our money. It's definitely we've both talked about how we have, we've got jobs, we've got no kids, we've got some disposable income that we can save, so we're definitely not in the no money category. There are plenty of people out there trying to do it on absolutely nothing, and really that I think is it's difficult to make those choices, and we're both in a position where we can save up money and spend it on the books. So I think what's maybe useful to talk about at least first is like, where have we decided to cut money when we know that some people are spending more money? And I think for me, like, definitely thing that I wanted to make sure I talked about today is quite far through the process, but it was in terms of formatting, which is in fact a place where I think I spend no money, but you spend money. And part of that is, yeah, well, okay, we'll get into that detail in a minute. But yes, we. So when you've written the book, edited it, got the cover, a lot of people talk about those as being like non-negotiables. But formatting the book, there are really good free options. So that's in terms of like making it go from a Word document into whatever you need to, whatever the current version of file you need to put it on Amazon is, which they're changing yet again.
Yes.
So and it's definitely genre dependent. I write cozy mysteries, which they don't have a lot of like, they don't need a lot of decorative, drop caps and flourishes and things. So I just use Draft to Digital, and I don't know why you'd use anything else. Really, it's so quick and easy. You have all the control yourself. There's no cost. You can put it in, click a few buttons, and it's done. I would need a strong reason to want to spend money on formatting. So for me, I think it's useful. And there's things like, I think that kind of comes in the category of like things like people spend money instead on, you know, various formatting things, and they also spend money on like different platforms to Word. And I think to me, those seem like luxuries that you absolutely don't need to spend money on. And I'm aware, I'm going to say
Yes.
again, very genre dependent, but those to me seem like they're a want, not a need. And I think
Yes.
you should, and I think a lot of people talk about as if they are absolutely necessary. Like you have to be spending money on formatting programs or
Hmm.
formatters, and you really don't at all. Like, unless you are in a really specific genre, in which case you still can find cheap ways to do it. I'm sure you can find friends who've got the programs, or you can find a cheap formatter to do something for you, but then you're already stuck on being able to not do it yourself. I would
Hmm.
say that is bottom of my list of place to spend money. The only place I absolutely would always spend money or find a very, very good alternative to spending money is covers and editing. Is there anywhere that you think people traditionally spend money that you would say not at all for me?
I think it's difficult because I am notorious for not wanting to spend any money on anything ever. Even though I have
Hmm.
money, I don't want to spend it. When I published my first book, I made my own cover, did my own formatting, did my own editing, and so it was a free production. Um, I definitely shouldn't have done my own editing. I know that. I'm fine. Like, because,
Hmm.
I didn't think anything was going to come of it anyway. So, like, there was no big deal. But I do think I think I had at that time, I bought Scrivener because I thought that I was supposed to.
Hmm.
You don't. Like,
Which you don't need it.
I would say I would never pay for a word processor. I would
Hmm.
never pay for, um, I know you don't pay for formatting. I like I have the ability to do my own formatting because I have bought software, and I know Draft to
Hmm.
Digital exists, but I like somebody else doing it because she's also like my formatter is also just like the last pair of eyes that sees
Hmm.
things, and I'm terrible for attention to detail, so I do kind of
Hmm.
rely on her to catch things that I haven't seen. But I am going to be honest and say I don't pay her. We have a friendship deal where and I get everything from it and she gets nothing from it, which is how I like all my friendship deals. No, she formats my books and gets to she uses them in her portfolio. I would love
Hmm.
to be able to, as I progress in my career, I want to pay her, and that's something that I personally want to do. But I don't think you have to have somebody else. I understand that's just like a want rather than a need. Um,
I think you're raising a good point there. Is like if you are someone who you know has lower attention to detail, you
mhm,
need to find that in some way, and that can just be swap with someone that you know has better attention to detail. So
yeah.
I know that I have very good attention to detail. Part of my job is
Mhm,
editing. So, for example, my book, I only get copy edits. I don't get a further proofread. I read it out loud, and I have had the very occasional typo brought up from Amazon, like as a reported typo, and it was maybe like two on my very first book, and that's it.
mm,
I know that I am good at finding those things, and I know that professional books still have typos in. It's absolutely fine.
yeah.
Like my most recent book came back from the copy editor, and two of the chapters I'd numbered two of the chapters the same number, and I caught it with ease. Like it's
Mhm,
something that I think I'm so used to doing. I've been editing for years now. I'm so used to doing that. I would not, but if I weren't doing that professionally, I would find it very anxiety inducing. I think to
mhm.
put a book out there being like, well, I looked at that. It's probably fine. But I think that is something you can swap with someone, because also just someone else's eyes, even if you're someone who
Yeah.
doesn't have great attention to detail, looking at someone else's manuscript is better than looking at your own.
Yeah. I also, similarly with covers, I if you are particularly good at design, and I think a lot of people out there are better than they think. There are some people out there who are terrible and they don't realize it.
Mm,
But if you have any kind of inkling towards design and you want to give it a go, there are free photo editing softwares that you can use to make your own covers if you so chose to. I think that's always a fun option. I love making my own covers and I don't use them. I make a cover for every book that I write. The first thing I do is make a cover, just so I like.
Also, you have used a temp cover for advertising your upcoming book, and it is so good that everyone keeps messaging like, "Please use that cover. It's phenomenal. I love the cover. It
it's
is really good."
I have it's a secret talent. Yeah,
Mm,
it was something I knocked up, but I had previously made. This is like going off on a tangent, but I had previously made 5 or 6 random covers throughout like the year of writing that book that I wanted to, like, every now and again I'd be like, oh, maybe I'll just try and make that cover again and see if I can figure out what the vibe is. But that was all done, apart from like the one that I've just made, which people love. All the previous ones were free Canva. I just make things on free Canva. But we'll talk about Canva later. Yeah, I don't know. I think that
I was gonna say, what's interesting is, like you've said, that most people are quite good at covers. I would say people are not. Like, I think realistically most people are not. But I think you're right that if you are artistically inclined and you actively want to learn that skill, not that you're going to go with the skill you have right now. I think it's, again, very genre dependent. So actually, I think interestingly, cozies and things like rom-coms often have like quite a two-dimensional flat look. That's easier to do than things that require dimensionality and sort of texture, because I think there are tricks that people use that you don't know, that you will never know unless you've done it, or unless you've learned a lot. It's interesting that quite a lot of cozies are homemade, cozy covers. I think two of the biggest cozy authors, or not the biggest, but like two quite big ones, so I know Agatha Frost and H.Y. Hannah, both make their own, and they look beautiful. And it also means you can change your covers quite regularly. So I know of a couple of people who, I don't know if it's known they make their own, so I won't talk about their names, but they can just try different covers all the time, and it is delightful to have that power at your fingertips. I think that I would love to make my own covers, but I do not want to learn how to do it, because I would do it and spend a lot of time on it. And I think I'm very good at distracting myself with that sort of thing. But yes, it's very genre dependent. I think that you have to be really, really confident that you can do it. A bit like I'm really confident that I can edit, right? And it's something I do professionally, but I would never be the only editor on my book. But I'm confident that I can catch typos left after I'm the editor, and I've corrected things.
I cannot.
Yeah. Which is, like, I think I love design. I think I like playing with graphics and things. But when I've tried to previously like mock up a design for my design, I want to change covers. I was like, I probably could just pull up something for him that will look kind of right. Literally the worst thing you've ever seen in your life. It looked like a child had done it. It looks so bad. And I think there is skills you can learn, that you can find a way to figure out. Like, I couldn't just like, these aren't going together, and like it doesn't look like it's the same. Like, it's not got the same three-dimensionality. I don't understand why. And I could just learn that, but I don't. I actually try to avoid learning their skills, because otherwise I will fiddle forever. And so I do think we're really careful. When you look in those like various indie author Facebook groups, there are people in there putting in the worst 1990s graphics looking things you've ever seen in your life. And just stubbornly refusing to accept any feedback as like true, and then putting in the same cover with very small differences over and over and over again, to the point where everyone's like, I don't understand, are you trolling everyone right now? So you've got to be really they're so pleasing.
The caveat is, like, if you are artistically inclined, you are, you don't question it. Like, I know I'm artistically inclined, I don't question that. I know that I know what looks good, and I know how to use software. And I have been, like, I've done digital art and like physical art for like my entire life. So I know that I know how it works. Which is why I would, in the future, I mean, I love my cover designer at the moment, and I want to work with her for as long as possible. But if I needed to, in a pinch, do my own cover, I feel like I could do it. So you know if you can.
Yeah. And I think there's so much good, content out there. There's so many good YouTube videos about how to make it. And professional Canva, as we are both big fans of telling everyone, it's £100 a year.
Yes.
Like, if I had £100 spent on a book, I might just spend it on professional Canva and figure out a way to get some editing swaps, because really there's great templates in there. You could find book cover templates. So if you're in a real pinch, you can do that. I would also say you've got to be really, really good at copying from that's the bigger thing, actually, is like knowing what it should look like. Copy from like an amalgamation of the top 10 covers in your genre written by indie authors, not trad. Ignore those. Look at the top 10 indie authors, not people who have been in the top 10, or I wouldn't even say top 10, maybe like the top 20 to 50, because top 10 is often a bit skewed. But yeah, looking top of like a movable group, ones who are not just stuck there for a long time because their fans love them. Really say that you have to be very honest with yourself and say, I'm finding something genre appropriate, not something that looks nice, because that is irrelevant. It has to be genre appropriate and indie appropriate. So you have to be really good at looking at that. But I do think when people say never done your own covers, it's for those people who don't listen in Facebook groups. It's not people who would love to learn how to make their own covers.
Yes, who want to learn. Yeah.
So I think if I were really short of money, I would design my own cover if I were in the right genre, and I think I am, and I would spend time doing it. And I would enjoy learning how to do that. And likewise, I would do a significant portion of my own editing, but I would still want a second pair of eyes on it, and I would find a way to pay to do that.
Yeah, I think that editing, again, like my last book was edited for free. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm really good at
But you don't
finding
have to be sorry.
deals.
That's
I
a
don't.
skill. That's how
Okay,
you.
so it is a skill. I'm just very good at. I've said this before. I'm like a weird publishing matchmaker of some kind. I get people into the business, and then they become part of my team. I used an editor who just wanted to kind of start trying to edit and stuff, and she did a fantastic job. But now I want to pay her. Like, I'm willing to pay her. But I think editing is something that I definitely in the future, if I was starting out now, I would pay for an editor. And I think that you can find good deals. I don't think you have to pay thousands and thousands of pounds like I see some people doing.
That's insane. Yeah. I mean, like, can you not use any words correctly? Otherwise, why are you paying for that?
I think, you can make trades.
I'm very harsh, sorry.
I know. No, I agree. I think,
but still, no.
I don't know. Yeah, I can't really chime in on it properly because I don't know what kind of manuscripts people are providing. I would never be at that stage where I thought I'd never. If I was paying someone thousands of pounds to edit a book, I'd be expecting them to rewrite it.
Write the whole book,
and that's not. I just want people to kind of catch things for me. That's it. And like help me.
Often they aren't as exhaustive an edit as you would think. Right? When people say they paid thousands for it, I would expect for that. I would expect to get a dev edit, a copy edit, a line edit, a proofread. But like again, how bad is your writing that sounds offensive?
I know. Yeah. It's difficult
much do you
to
not trust yourself that you need that? I think that's the issue. Where like that you can't catch anything, that you can't trust your own instincts on some things. I think and it's maybe your first couple of books, maybe because I also think like I have been to critique groups for years and years and years, and I think from that you learn not just like small edits, but you're learning big edits. You're learning feedback that is needed for those larger stages of edits, so things like dev edits, even copy edits. Like you're figuring out what works and what doesn't work on the page. And I think people who are wanting to pay those big sums, to me, that says you've skipped a lot of stages and that you are not able to trust any of your own instincts because you can't buy quality. Like if you send someone a rubbish book and you pay them thousands of pounds, they're going to give you back a an orderly, like a good and orderly rubbish book. I think you want to be choosing very carefully. I think there's definitely benefits to paying for a dev edit, and there's benefits to paying for a copy edit and a line edit and a proofread. But if you're just blindly taking all of those, you need to be putting more thought into like what do you need and why. And are you doing it for every book or just one to see the process? If
I did that for every book, I wouldn't be able to publish a book. I wouldn't be able to publish a book if every book cost me over £1,000. I like that. To me is maybe in the future when I've got more money to. Actually, I know that's not true. When I've got more money, I'm not spending more on those things. But I think that if you're starting out and you don't have a lot of money to spend and you're looking to get edits on your book, the best thing that you can do, and maybe like this is not what people want to hear and stuff, but I think trade your manuscript with somebody else's. You can proofread theirs, they can edit. There's always like
also like programs like Grammarly and Pro Writing Aid now and things, which are not cheap in themselves, but I think something you can get subscriptions to, so you could afford it for just a small time. You might have a friend who's got a subscription that can lend you use of it. You also might just say, okay, I'm going to even this cost out over 4 books. So even though I'm spending £100 right now, I might pay monthly and say like that's going to cover my editing costs the whole year. Interestingly, how you're saying you wouldn't pay more if you had more time. I was listening to the podcast. I'm going to say it was maybe Bella Andre, but that absolutely might be a lie. I can't remember what I was listening to at all. But let's say it's Bella Andre. It was someone like her. It was Bella Andre, and it was a really interesting episode. I'm going to try and figure out what it was on because it was so good, and she was so honest about all the different developments to her business, as size it is, and also about her branding and the way that she's very particular about her brand. Anyway, she was saying she isn't like the thing that only she can do is the writing, and she has a team of full-time editors who are swapping books between them, and they're having multiple edits, and that just means that she is having to do less of that, like worrying over the punctuation and the words and the grammar and the spelling things, because those things really aren't important. If you get a team that can consistently do that, they can say like, oh, you're always going to misuse commas this way, it doesn't really matter, we'll fix it. You're not having to worry about that. You can write quicker and focus on the parts that are important. And so I do think that you would spend more money if you make more money, because you would say, I'm not going to do the things that slow me down.
I think if that's the way my business worked, if my business expanded to that sort of thing where I was having to write more books and I had a good team of people that I trusted. Yeah, exactly. Like if I was Bella, then I'd be like, yeah, like this is a great way to spend money. But if I'm just thinking, if I'm just going to be continuing doing what I'm doing right now, but the books that I release pay me more money, but I keep this business model for the time being, I wouldn't want to increase those costs much more than I would already be willing to pay now. And then when I become like a multi-millionaire, like selling books, like 100 books every hour, and on my yacht with Keanu Reeves beside me, then yeah, yeah, of course. Then I'll reconsider how much I spend.
You might just then, maybe Keanu could talk you into it. He'd be like, you're too stressed, Sam. Let me fan you while you pay for an editor to do this work.
Yeah,
you
massage
take
my
his
shoulders.
He only wants the best for you.
He does, and I know that, and I'm appreciative of him.
Yeah. I bet he's a good editor. I bet Keanu Reeves is a great editor. I bet he'd do it for you. Don't know why.
No comment.
I think he's good at everything. I did remember, by the way, I think it was a Spa Girls episode, and they were at a conference together, so I will find that episode. It was a nice live one. It reminded me a lot of our side-by-side episode, because they were just chatting over each other the whole time. I was like, yeah, that's what it's like when you're together. But it was a really good one, and I think it was so interesting to listen to someone who's quite a different stage of the business, but still thinks about the same thing. So really thinks about, is that my brand or not? Am I going to do that? She set up a separate pen name to publish books that she'd got in the drawer. And she didn't want to publish them as herself, because she was like, the Bella Andre brand is incredibly reliable. People know exactly what they're going to get from that. And I never want to taint that. And that was a really nice thing to hear, because like, really, she's Bella Andre. She could put anything out on her name, people will buy it. But she was like, it doesn't matter. I don't ever want to mess with people's experience in that way. But yeah, so editing costs. Good. I think it's interesting whenever I hear on other podcasts people saying like, oh, just find a friend to swap with, or just find someone that's starting out. To me, that's always been like, that seems like not a real thing, because I'm not a magnet for publishing people, and I don't love, I don't know, talking to people, maybe, apart from you.
I have done that in the past. That's how I got into like properly taking this a little bit more seriously, is that I found somebody in a Facebook group who was I followed the author Maggie Stivotta, who has like a Facebook group, and every now and again she would open up a website where you could go and say what kind of book you were writing, and you could find an author who was in your genre, and you would swap manuscripts and basically help each other with like critiquing and stuff, like a critiquing group. And that was how I first got into exchanging a manuscript with somebody who I'd never met before, and we both helped each other out, gave edits back, and then both published our books. And that was probably where I started realizing like, I don't have to pay somebody like loads of money to do this. I could work with somebody to do this. And I think that maybe set up my mindset, and probably like told the universe, let's get woo-woo, told the universe that was how I like to work. And that's how I've managed to work the whole time. And I know that's lucky, if you want to call it luck, or if you just want to call it.
I think it's preparation, but I always think it works for your personality. Because for me, I would always rather pay to get rid of the problem if I can. If I have the financial means, I don't want to I don't want to have more worries than I need. So does anyone? So if I can pay for an editor that I know will suit my needs, and in fact, I don't even work with one person. I work with an agency that is a small agency, but it was recommended by a friend of mine, Jordan Rivet, who I've talked about before, and it's a woman who has like a small team of editors, so I don't even have to talk to the person. I've never talked to the person, in fact, who edits my books. I've never even emailed them. I just send it to a woman, she passes it on to an editor, and then I get it back, which is exactly the sort of impersonal relationship I like.
We're so different. It's so funny. I want to be best friends with this person. I want to be emailing them, and we're going to be friends on Instagram and send each other messages. And yeah, like,
You're meeting up next week with your formatter.
I know. It's when you work with me, you're basically with me for life. Sorry to
Best
say.
friends forever.
Yeah, just in gathering a good group of friends. Eventually, it will lead to world domination in some way.
Yeah, I think and so I think when people have said, "Oh, find someone to swap with or find someone in their career," that to me has always felt really unrealistic, and it is really interesting to hear about. Oh, that's just the way that I want to work. I would say if somebody is like me and you're fairly antisocial and you're an overly independent author. I think ways in which I would replace that is we talked about this before. I would pay software. I get software for my editing, and I would spend hours enjoying learning cover design. And then I would replace those skills without ever having to see a real person or talk to one of them. I'm not antisocial. Anyone's come to SBS, please do come say hi. I do like people. I just don't like needing people.
You're so we're like so different, because it sounds like I'm really social and it sounds like you're antisocial.
You're so antisocial.
But I'm so antisocial,
No
and
one's
you're
ever
so
met you.
social. I know. I just like stay inside. But in theory, I am the most social person that there is, and I love people, but I also love staying inside. I really like being on my own. Like it's such a conundrum. We're both equally weird, opposites,
but just in a right combination. So those are ways to save money on like the production costs. So we've talked about editing and formatting and covers. Other things I spend money on. I've done my budget recently. I spend money on a website, and honestly, if I didn't have money, I wouldn't have a website. It's not. I know people say you have to have a professional. Nobody cares. People are going to buy your book anyway. Don't bother.
No.
Get one at some point. Find the cheapest option at some point. But honestly, it's not worth money that I spend on it. I just have it because now I have it, and I'm never want to set up again in my life. And now I own my domain name. I can't get rid of it. So fine.
Oh yeah. No one's having that. You get your domain name, you hold on to it forever. No, I've got domain names that I'm just paid for every year because I can't let them have it.
What if Taylor Swift got a new account and called it Matilda? I'd lose my domain and never be able to afford to get it back.
No, you'd sell it, hold it to ransom. You'd sell it for a ridiculous
but what if I'd let go of it? What if I'd let go of it because I didn't need it, and then I'd never get it back? I'd never get any variation of it back. Yeah.
No.
So yes, wouldn't have a website. Book funnel, I think you can get a cheap option or a free option if you're starting out and you don't want to use it, an expensive option. I think there's that. I think Story Origin also has a free version.
The mid list for book funnel, I've put book funnel on my list of if I had £100 I'd spend it on this. Book funnel mid list is what I've got, and that's £100 for the year, or $100, something like that.
I think it's 115 a year. I think I
pay extra because you can have an add-on for an extra $50. This is like getting into details. You can have an add-on for extra $50 to integrate it with your mailing list, but you don't have to do that.
I do have that,
but that's
I think if I were really short of money, I would struggle with that book funnel. I would find it I would really seriously consider. I would try and find the money for it because I used it a lot when I was starting out to do list builders, so to get people reading my free novella. And I still use it for ARC delivery. I think it is very, very useful. And I think if I weren't doing it, I would be missing out on part of the business that I would need, especially in the beginning.
Yeah, 100%.
I would also pay for a newsletter. I would pay for that for a website any day of the week. And you can still get ones that are very cheap or free. If you go into any of the self-pub groups, you'll find people recommending various things. I use probably what is a more expensive option now, so I use MailerLite. I'm still on the classic pricing, and I'm going to be annoyed when it goes up to the more, what are they calling it now, Neon or something. They've got a new version that's got a different pricing. I'll be annoyed. But still, their customer service is fantastic. The quality of the product is really good, so it's worth it. Fine, but I'll be annoyed. But I would have a newsletter before almost anything else.
Yes, I put newsletter on my free If you're just starting
Yeah.
out and you don't have any money, and the one thing that I would do first is set up a email subscription. I still have free MailChimp. I have not yet reached the point where I need to pay because I'm still building my mailing list. If you're listening to this, please subscribe. Self plug. So I just have free MailChimp, and that works perfectly for me at the moment. I'm definitely going to be spending money on that in the near future, but for now, I think that's one of the things that I think is easy to do, cheap to start with, and you want to be able to get directly to people. And building a mailing list, even though it took me years and years to really consider taking it seriously, until we started talking and I realised that I had been neglecting such a great avenue of of everything. It is very important, and I think when people are deciding whether or not they should be setting up mailing lists and thinking that they don't want to, you're wrong. You need to.
Yeah.
You can't rely on social media. I don't want anybody to rely on social media to sell books. You can't rely on Amazon's algorithms. You have to be warming up those leads and creating that for yourself. And a mailing list is the only way to do it. So get a free account.
Yeah. And get it ASAP, like before you start publishing.
Yes.
So do you think we can come in under 100 for our book? So we've got some costs that I think I would want to have in that we spread over the year, but I would maybe have book funnel, free mailing list, no website. So book funnel that only costs, that's like what, a tenner a month. So not a huge amount. I hope I'm spreading it over a few books. I am spending ideally next to nothing on editing because I'm going to find a way to either swap with a friend who's also good at editing or use some software in the very beginning. If I have a slightly bit more money, I will pay for an editor. I think that is very useful at the minimum for your first few books, just to figure out what your consistent problems are. Really, I think I could probably get rid of my editor right now and I could go for something like Grammarly or Pro Writing Aid. But I really like having someone else just to catch the things that I won't catch because I think it's tiny odd things, and also also sometimes writes like nice compliments on it, and that's quite nice to get at the end of the book.
It's
She's
nice
like,
to
love
get
this book.
back.
Great stories.
That's the best part, when you're so scared to get the document back with the comments, and you read the ones that are like, obviously what kind of punctuation is this? These are the wrong words. Reorder this sentence. It makes no sense. But then you get the one that's like, oh, I love this part. Like smiley faces, or like my favorite one was my editor put in the comments meme of Leonardo DiCaprio pointing at the screen. That was my favorite one ever. I love getting edits back.
Yeah, it's nice having human involved in the business. So I think you don't want to cut out too much. I would say if there's one of the two things, covers or editing, that you feel like you could not replace to a professional standard in some way, find the money for it. It's worth it, 100%. Like, you don't want to put a book out there that you don't feel confident about. You don't want to put a cover on, that isn't going to stand out in a good way. Yeah, there are cheap covers out there. There really are. Like, there's lots of companies that do them for astoundingly cheap, but they look cheap. And I think you struggle nowadays to find a genre where you can get away with like a cover from Fiverr. At the very bare minimum, you have to spend a lot of time learning the conventions and doing it yourself, and learning how to do it yourself. And to many people, that's not going to be worth the time. Really, you might as well do an extra job to get some more money to pay someone to do it. So my covers are very cheap. I pay, as I think we said this last week, so I will give general price. I don't want to give specific prices for cover designers because I think sometimes they leave you on an old rate and you don't want to publicize that for everyone. So I do I price myself out for 4 short works a year for editing, a full copy edit and a cover, ebook and paperback for each, and that came in at about £1,300 for the year. So dividing that by 4, that's already quite cheap. And if I were cutting that down a little bit, I could find ways to trim that if needed.
Yeah, I think similarly, I don't want to give my prices away because I don't want somebody to be like, oh, I'll find out who does Sam's covers and then try and go in at that price and then get my prices bumped up. But my books cost about like £500 each at the moment.
Okay.
Maybe a bit more.
And because
if I was taking into consideration like a bit of extra things, but definitely less than £1,000 per book. Yeah, that's always going to be my target. Try and keep those prices down.
You write in a genre with like expensive covers and with more fancy things around the text, so there are additional costs in that.
Yeah, and I know that I will end up paying more for like editing and formatting, but there's definitely more to consider with fantasy books. You have to have interiors that look like people expect, drop caps, scene breaks with small illustrations, and there's definitely a little bit more to it. And I think I do it on a very good shoestring budget myself. I think that people could do similar to me for cheaper. But yeah, I think that when you say book funnel is something that you definitely pay for. My other thing is Canva Pro. Even as someone who gets their covers done, it's marketing material. You will never regret.
And it's all your marketing materials.
All marketing
there's
materials.
Nothing you can't make from there.
You can do all your branding. You can do all of just everything. It's so good. I love it so much. I
think for the price,
I should be working for them.
Yeah, we should be working for them. We should get sponsored by Canva. But it doesn't matter because we still pay for it. Yes, I cannot say this enough. For less than £10 a month, you can get everything you would want. I rue my former self decision not to pay for it. I didn't even look into it. I assumed it was expensive. And I was like sat there peering through for all the free images. What an absolute waste of my life. For £100, it's worth it. If you make, any number of images, even for like your personal, I made posters for my birthday party this year. And invitations for my Christmas party. This sounds like I'm the fanciest lady ever, but I attended some big events this year. But yeah, and just having like made that easy would have been worth the money. I genuinely though think that if I were starting out and I were really struggling for money, if I had at all any time to do some additional work to get the money, I would do that before I would do these things myself. Before I would make my own cover, I would, if at all possible, do some extra work, like some extra shifts. If and that's coming from a position of privilege. I'm aware like people are exhausted, but if you're taking the time to write the book, take the extra time to make the book look as good as it can look.
Yeah, I think so. I think that if you're not already set with publishing dates, if you literally are at the first step where you've written the book, you haven't yet got anybody invested, nobody's like waiting for it, nobody's expecting anything from you, you are in a place of like, that's a magic place to be. Take a little bit longer, save up a little bit more money for a good cover if you aren't going to be making your own. The time itself, like taking that extra time, is also a good way to save money in publishing. Just take a little bit longer. Like that's
and you can always recover things as well. I think there's a big benefit where I had some cheap pre-mades done because I was let down by a cover designer last minute, and I had got dates in, and I had got books planned, and I got releases scheduled. I was like, I don't have covers, and I got pre-mades done, and I kept meaning to get them changed, and it took me a long time to get them changed, and now it feels so much easier to promote the books because I know that they look more to market, and I think I would like to be in a position where I could comfortably get them changed every few years. I think that feels like a business like expense that I want to be able to feel comfortable spending, rather than thinking I've covered them once, I spent that money, it's a sunk cost, I can't spend any more.
Yeah, that's a good reason why you shouldn't spend loads on your covers. I get that some people make beautiful covers and they, again, thousands of pounds or like hundreds and hundreds of pounds. That's such a temporary spend. If you spend too much, you're never going to recoup that cost. That product will it will take longer to pay off. So that is something that you have to take into consideration. The more you spend on a book, the longer it's going to take you to then make a profit on that book. And that's just really demoralizing when you start looking at how much you're making and you think, I've not even paid off like one book yet because this book cost me $5,000 to publish.
Yeah.
It seems like
change cover trends very quickly.
Yeah,
like you have to change every couple of years. So I think fantasy is pretty bad for that. It's all parts of fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't change your covers every couple of years, it just looks like an old book. I
Yeah.
think in cozies there's a bit more variety. I think you can get away with a couple of different styles at the same time. It's not like everyone follows a certain trend religiously, but you will start looking old. So, for example, the cream and red covers were really, really everywhere for a few years. I think there's a limited amount of time you could keep your cream and red covers and not start to look very dated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Agreed. Do you
But yeah, you
on
can
my
start with something that you know you're going to change later. You can always make improvements if you realize I didn't spend as much money as I should have done. It's not the end of the world. Get something changed.
Yeah. I've added on my list of other free things that people should consider as part of their publishing. I've got like LibreOffice, which is what I use, like word processor. Photopea, which is a free Photoshop, which is just an online version. But Discord groups, just to talk about,
Plug the best place on it.
plug. But just as a way to find the right people and maybe find people to help and get recommendations for things. You're going to be so happy and feel so good if you already know the answers to these questions from people within your genre. And joining a Discord group or a Facebook page, I think Facebook is the worst. I just hate using Facebook as that because it's just so muddy. But Discord groups recently, I mean, we obviously have our own Discord group. I'm now all over Discord. I'm just always on it. I've never felt better about having an app that connects me to people because I've found a great community and I feel like I'm asking people about. I've recently put in a blurb that I'd written and I knew that it wasn't right, so I've asked for feedback on this blurb that I've written, and it was told immediately, like, it's great, but it's not what you need. And if I hadn't asked that question, even as somebody who is, I don't even know how many books I've published now, like I can't even count 10, maybe. I'm still not great at writing blurbs.
No, it is so hard. My blurb, so before we had our Discord, I put my blurb in a different Discord I'm a member of, and I had already done a lot of work on it, and I thought it was really good. And people gave incredibly useful, not super nice to hear, but incredibly useful feedback that made the blurb, 100% better. And I think I've written the world's best blurb. Like,
yeah,
genuinely, it's great.
I really liked the blurb that I've written. I knew it was a bit too long, but yeah, I was told basically try again. And I'm fine with that because I trust the people in the group that I've got. And like I say, even as somebody who isn't doing their first book, isn't really at the very, very start, needs the help. Like I needed the help, and I've found people who can help. And that is really something that you can't pay for that. You can, but you don't want to because you have got community who can give you really, really helpful feedback. So I think Discord or just finding your community online is the best free thing that you can do. I've been harping on about it for the last few months. It's my favourite thing. I love Discord.
Yes, anyone that does want to join, we have got the invite in our show notes. So it's the Pen to Paycheck authors. Can't remember if we put that word in there. Pen to Pay.
Pen to Pay. Just Pen to Paycheck. It's just Pen to Paycheck Discord.
Pen to Paycheck Discord, great. I'll remember that probably for the next 5 minutes.
I know.
But yes, we've got the link in our show notes. If you come and join there are a great range of authors in there. So lots of people who are working at all different levels. Everyone is very helpful. You'll get responses straight away. You can ask questions that you think are stupid and someone will answer it in a speedy and complete manner, which is just exactly what you want. And you can look back over lots of conversations. You can search in there for conversations people have had on things that you've also asked questions on or you have questions on. And we also asked a question of the week, which last week I forgot to write down, so I had to go and listen again to figure out what the question was. So this week's question is it's going to be, what are your best free tools, free or very cheap tools that you think self-publishers should know more about? You talk while I write that down to remember exactly what I said.
Yeah, I am excited about that because I do think that you don't know until you know. There are so many things that I didn't know until me and Matilda started talking about everything and doing our mastermind. Like, sadly, there was very obvious things that I came to realise and made me feel like a fool. And if you too want to feel like a fool, come to the Discord. The best Discord advert you could get. No,
It's such a
really,
whisper network, though, like self-publishing.
it
There's no way
is.
to know. You don't know who to trust for a really long time. I feel so grateful. I know I've said before, I feel so grateful that I knew someone who's already very successful and could just tell me, do this, don't do that, don't listen to these people. Here's where the
Yeah.
knowledge is. It's like, oh, great. That's like shortcutted everything. I didn't have to have the full stage. I definitely did foolish things. That's fine. But I could ask somebody for help, which just changes everything.
Yeah. Yes, definitely the help from the people who know that you can trust, and then not just some random person on a Facebook group that's going to tell you something random.
Loudly.
Just loudly. Yeah, it's the same people all the time. I don't want to say avoid Facebook, but maybe just avoid Facebook for the most part. Find smaller groups.
Yeah.
I think maybe that's us wrapped up. Do you have anything else you'd like to add? Anything free? Anything?
No, I think it's interesting to do this one first before next week's episode, where we talked about the opposite situation. And this, I think, is a more comfortable space of like figuring out where you can do things as economically as possible. So yes, I think nothing to add, though. If you want to come to Discord and ask really specific questions, like what should I be paying for this, or should I be paying anything for this? We've had some conversation this week about ISBNs, for example, and I don't pay for my ISBNs, but I still think about it. Should I pay for more? Should I buy my own at some point? I haven't. I have free ones, and if you wanted to ask me about like why they've chosen free and why they wouldn't choose free, you could ask me about that, and I think I might do at some point. But it's not really on my list right now to do anything about it. But yes, I think there's various things where you kind of don't think about it until you need to.
Yes.
So I probably do have more ideas on this topic, but nothing that is as important as I want to talk about so far.
Okay, perfect. Then next week we will be talking about how to spend money on self-publishing if you do have it. So complete opposite. I'm scared. Do you have any initial thoughts on this right now?
Yes, I am also scared. I think we've talked about this before, that it's really important to differentiate between like investing and kind of gambling, and knowing which one you're doing, and knowing how much knowledge you've got and how much knowledge is required for each part of it. So when you are new, the money that you spend is not an investment in your business. It could be an investment in your business. It could also be an absolute waste of money, and you don't know enough to know what you're doing, which side you're on. So I think that's what feels really hard about having money, is like you could, in a matter of days, spend it all on Facebook ads. Like no matter how much money you've got, you could spend it on Facebook ads. And or you could buy the expensive cover. If you're writing YA fantasy, for example, which just has a lot of treadles in there, a lot of very expensive looking covers, and many people who are making big money are spending thousands on covers, that must feel very high pressure to think I have to have that myself. And how do you know whether that's an investment or that's just throwing money away? So I think that's the side of it I want to talk about next week, because obviously you can spend all the money you want, and if you've got it, great. That sounds like a great position to be in, but there are definitely worries around it and dangers around it and things you have to think about before just letting your money go in a certain way.
Yeah,
What
I
about
think
you? Have you got any
maybe
other thoughts about that?
like this week we said if we only had £100 to spend, what would we spend it on? I think the opposite would be, if you had £1 million, what would you spend it on? Because I would still not want to fritter that away.
I think $1 million is unreasonable. I think what's useful is to think about, like, if we had a really specific amount of money, like say you had $5,000, like
okay,
if you had $5,000 that
but I
you
want
wanted
$1
to invest in
million.
your business, where would you spend it? But then if you had $1 million, you'd be living on a beach and you'd be getting Keanu Reeves to ghostwrite all your books. I just think you'd be not investing in the same way that someone else would.
Yeah, okay.
Whereas $5,000 or $10,000, I think people do save up, or they have savings. I think I want to invest in my business.
Yeah.
I think $5,000 is a good amount, because it is the amount that you might think you need to be spending, or you might have got saved up. You might get a windfall for something, and you think, I've got that money and I want to invest in my business, but how? So let's set that as our target for next week.
Okay, just Cap my dreams, why don't you? Fine. Yeah, no, that's fair enough. You know how I like to dream big. Thank you very much to everyone. Oh, go on. just
No, I
cut
was
you
going to
off.
say, just impractical. It's
Yeah, it
because
is
we would just spend the
impractical.
entire time talking about how we would like live in a farmhouse and wear Rim Michelle costumes all the time. We would not be having a productive self-publishing conversation. So
Yeah.
dreams should just stay as dreams.
I'm gonna, before I finish this podcast, I just want to say that we did, in fact, last week manifest a Romeo and Michelle sequel.
No,
Thank
so
you very
powerful.
much. So,
Yeah, looking forward to it.
so watch this space. Thank you very much to everyone
If you've got
for
anything else you
tuning
want to
in.
manifest as well, let us know.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, we're now manifesting machines. So I think that we're gonna do great things this year. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to join us on Discord. And leave reviews everywhere you want. If you want to leave lovely 5-star reviews, then do it. No one's stopping you. Have a great day. I'll see you next week.
Knock yourselves out. Yes. Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to Pen to Paycheck Authors.
Stay tuned for our next episode. And don't forget to subscribe to learn how to write your way to financial success.